And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to King James Bible University. I'm Elder Michael Johnson. And today we're going to be going through, one second. I want to get this off. Need to get that off. So now we got that, but sorry about that. And we're going to be going through the book of Romans. And what I want to make sure of a couple of things, that everybody who's joined in, we have some people in the back, we have some people that's over on the YouTube side. So what we have to do, we got to go over a couple of things before we go into chapter 2, because what I want you to clearly really get, and this is how we're going to really find out the mind of Paul, because we getting ready to pick Paul's mind apart to understand the methodology on the methodology that he actually uses, his thought patterns to actually pour you. And actually, this is one of the main reasons why, when he gets in the verse in chapter 7, why he deals with people who deals with the law. We're going to find out this here when we go into verse 2, and we're going to see in verse 1 how he sets this up. It's almost like he plays a chess game as he speaks to you. So we're going to find this out. And most people, to where they study Paul, you have people who tell you they did all these things on Paul, and they never address this. They never address it, but they never see why Paul is the danger that he is, based on how he actually writes his letter and how he speaks to people. But we're going to find out exactly how Paul sets it up. So it's really important. So the main thing is, I want to make sure that everybody has their Romans study book, because we're going to get ready to start in there, but we're going to hone in on a couple of things, and then I'm going to have to also, on the KJBU side, I'm going to have to put the document that I'm going to put up to where we got to go through that, because I need for you to clearly understand to where we see in chapter 1 how Paul set everything up. But then he set it up to where he did an outline on how he's going to run the rest of it in Romans. So that's what we're going to find out. So I want to make sure you got everything there. So now what I want to do, I want to find out, I'm going to actually put this actually up right now, and I'm going to come back, because I want to find out to where we got to work this together. Because we don't work together, and most people who just sit and just want to sit back in the cut that they want to say and just watch. When you don't participate, it's harder for you to learn, because you're not actually being challenged by your own rationale. You need to be challenged by your own rationale to help you actually propel you more forward to where you can actually learn better. Most people don't think that works, but that's actually the way it works. Just sitting there, just getting answers, never seeking the questions, that actually makes you learn a lot slower. So what I'm gonna do, I'm getting ready, I'm gonna put this up. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you what's going on. So we need to look at Romans chapter 1. And right now, as most people don't know, if you go into the KJBU side, you can actually go in there, and we have the Bible actually in there to where you can go through. So if you don't have your Bible with you, you need to study while you're on the go. You have the Bible actually in there, and all you do is just look for where to tell you it's, we call it the Book of Remembrance, but you'll see it's under the study guide of Paul. So it's right there. We have it on the other study that you're going to use also. So it's right there. So never worry about where if you run out and don't have your book. But what we want to do, I want to get a couple of questions from a few people. And I'm going to ask the question, and I want to find out. And all you have to do, you can either post a question, but if you put your hand up, I would actually take your answer voicefully for the ones who actually are in Zoom. So what I want to find out is what verse that Paul used to set up the entire piece for verse 2 on. What we want to know is, you can look at, you can scan over it, or if you reread verse 1, you can go in and actually we're not here to do these things there. And so the main thing is, if you come in and then you ask them, "What this don't work, this don't." What we're doing, we're doing a worldwide platform, and we're not here to really just find out little other things, or you just coming in. So what we have right now, we have Sister Brenda. She's saying verse 4. I'm gonna read verse 4, and we're gonna see if the verse 4 is it. It says, "And declared to be the Son of God with power according to the Spirit of holiness by the resurrection from the dead." So she's the only one actually even put up, and this is what I'm saying. We all need to, well, we can participate to try to show, to find out what's going on. So she's using that verse. So what I'm gonna do, since we have a lot of people not willing to participate, how many agree with that? How many agree with what she just stated? So you could either yes or no, but how many agree with that? Yeah, we have 1 second. We have Elder Smith, I believe. Elder Smith, Elder Smith, I can.
I agree with that, and also I agree with Romans 1:2.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, and we have 4. Okay, so we have Be Real agree with 4. So we have quite a few people is agreeing. So we have quite a few people who is agreeing with verse 4, 1, and 2. Verse 4, so we have quite a few that's going up. There's going up people that agree. So everybody who's just joining over here, who haven't been over here through the Romans part, what we do, we actually go back and forth because we go through the scriptures. We actually going to study the scriptures. We're not sitting here trying to find out that little Joe was down there doing something else. So we have someone else using verse 3 and 4. We have someone else using verse 3 and 4. And that's Brother Anthony. Brother Anthony is saying, hey, verse 3 and 4. So these what's going on. We have no one else in the back. We have a couple of answers in the back, and they're using 1 and 2. And we have Sister Watson. She's also saying she's agree. She agreed. So we have some agree. We have some people who standing back. They choosing not to answer. But the main thing is, and I'm gonna show you why I do this, because we have to make something that's very upfront. And this is and it's clearly done, not even here, but it's done in other forms where people will teach classes, and then after the answer comes out, and then they'll sit there and say, "Oh, I was about to answer this. I was about." That's a waste. That's a waste of time. That's a waste of your personal time to even put that in there, or it's a waste of our time to sit there. And that's a beautiful thing to where someone just said, "Hey, not sure." That's exactly what we look for. If you're not sure, you're not sure. It's no big deal if you don't know. If you don't know, hey, I don't know. That shuts, and what that does with Thomas, that shuts everything down that I need to do. And if he tells you he don't know and you know the answer, Thomas is saying, okay, run to it. I don't know. So I need to tell him what the answer is. It's no disrespect there, but he just didn't know. So, but this is what people do. So many people, and some is using Sister Cole using verse 5. Many people using verse 2, because we have a couple of other ones use verse 2 and verse 4. So now what we're going to do, we're going to look at this real close. So many use verse 2. And it says, which he had promised. Actually, let me pull this up. We have another one went up. And many people is using 3 and 4. We just had Sister Banks, she's using 3 and 4 again. So we have quite a few people is using 3 and 4. So this is good, but let's pull this up and we're going to look at it again, and we're going to get some understanding on that. So what is going on? Let me close this part out because that'll drive me crazy. Okay, so verse 2, we looking at, it says, which he had promised, and for by his prophets in the holy scriptures. Many people using verse 2. And then we have verse 3 concerning his son, Yahushua the Messiah, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. And people in verse 4, and declared to be the Son of God with power according to the Spirit of holiness by the resurrection from the dead. This is where almost everybody is honing in on. This is almost where everybody's honing in on. Now, this is something that you guys going to learn. You take this tool on what I'm going to show you and you run with it. This is something you never forget. This is what Paul masters at. This is where we're going to pick him apart. See, we have to remember two things about Paul. Paul sat at the feet of Gamaliel. This is what we know. He sat at the feet of Gamaliel. You just can't just come in there and sit at Gamaliel's feet. That's I'm talking about without question. You could not sit there. You have to really, one, be highly intelligent, but then know certain things you have to be able to be capable of. Two, Paul knew the perfect order of the fathers, and he knew the laws of God. Two things Paul knew. So Paul can come in and can tear you down. If you knew the laws of the Father and they didn't want you teaching that in a certain location, they can send Paul in there. And Paul mastered it. He can put those two doctrines together and he'll trip you up. Once he trip you up, literally what Paul was good at doing, he gonna get you killed. Because Paul mastered that. That's what Paul masters in. So he's doing the same thing here, but he's doing it to pull you to Christ. He's not doing it to get you killed. He's doing this to pull you to Christ, to show you the flip sides. Why? Because currently, as us as a whole, we're Pharisees. I don't care how we look at it. As a whole, we're Pharisees. Why? Because we believe in a doctrine that was taught by men, not by the doctrine of God. Because if we was talking about the doctrine of God, I wouldn't need to even be here. So if we understand each other, this is what's going on. So if we understand the doctrine of God, it's no reason for this platform. But we understand better the doctrine of men. That's why we can quote the things we quote. But what we're doing, we're getting stronger to where now you pushing that to the side. And now you pulling in the doctrine of God, which is pulling you the same way as Paul. You know the both on what they are. The same as the Most High say. You now know the difference between good and evil. So you're going to shun the evil and you're going to hold on to what is good. So you're doing the same thing. So this is why you have some people who come in and just disown everything from what they learn from the Christian realm. Just disown everything. They just walk away from, I don't know anything. I'm coming in just to learn what I know. And I need to, what I see, I need to be able to prove what I see and see what I prove. That's it. When you do that, some people do that, take that drastic method. When they do that, a lot of people learn at an alarming rate, because then whatever they believe, they don't believe it anyway. They're only gonna believe what they see. So they learn at a faster rate doing that. They're not gonna weigh between it. So that's what happens. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at this. We're gonna see what's happening now. So many people chose for, I want to make sure we have no other questions, no other answers in the class. We have no other answers there. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to look at this, and then I'm going to show you why it's so important. So many people chose 2, 4, 3, and 5. And did I read 5? No, I didn't read 5, because we have one chose 5. It says, by whom we have received grace and apostleship. So we received apostle to carry a message throughout the world for obedience to the faith among all nations, which he's talking to only to the 12 tribes, which we can prove that from Acts 26, 6 and 7, for his name. So this is what one other person chose. And this is Sister Jocelyn. This is what she chose. Now we're going to get inside Paul's mind. We're going to see how Paul did all this to set us up. So all this was to set us up to where we couldn't refuse nothing. This is what he does. This is what he masters at. So once you learn this, I want you to put this tool inside your heart. This tool I'm getting ready to give you, put it inside your heart. Never forget, this is the mind on how Paul works. Once you understand this, you'll never forget it. So once you keep this tool and you keep it with you. So all of them was good answers. But we're going to go to the main answer on how Paul set us up. So through all the way through 5, and what it is, Paul used that to show you who he was talking about. That's what he did. That's what everybody focused on. All of us are focused on that automatically. We focus on about Yahushua. Everybody focused on that. Why? Because you looking at this and you already know the statement he made was true. That's how he got us. That's how he set us up. So if most of us know that statement is true, what you did, you thought outside of what Paul was saying. That's how he got you. Because we sitting right there, we know this, and if he's declared to be the Son of God with power according to the Spirit of holiness by the resurrection from the dead, if we wouldn't have focused on that and focused on his message, we would have caught what he said. This is the catch. This is the flip that he uses. But what we did, we focused on that. And once we focused on it, he got us. Why? Because you used this right here. And what we did, we used some of that same knowledge we have here, and we pulled knowledge from other places where we know this now is true. That's how you set us up. Don't do that. That's why I say, if you throw away everything, you wouldn't have focused on this. This wouldn't have been the focus. It would have been something else. This is why anytime you approach it, never approach it with the focus on what you already previously know or previously learned outside from a Christian type religion. Don't ever do that. When you do that, that's how you get got. It's almost like a 3-card Molly trick. How they do the cards and they switch it right in front of you. He's doing the same thing, but he's doing it with conversation. So let's go down and we're going to find out where he got us. So we're going to go down. And this is the main part of the conversation because first, let's look at this. He says, Paul, a servant of Yahushua the Messiah, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of whose? It's the gospel of God. That was a setup. So this message is his. Yahushua was a container to do something for his message. That's how he set us up. That's how we were set up. So let's go down. Now we're going to go down. We're going to look at something very important. So this is where he did it. When we look at verse 20, it kicks us into the second chapter. But watch this. He says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. He set us up. That was the setup right here. Meaning what? Actually, let me set up another part because we can ready to find out how Paul did this. And this is something you always keep with you. Actually, I need to, let me do this. And I'm gonna pull this, and then we're gonna have a conversation while we're getting ready to set a lot of that up. And then we're going to see, because I'm going to put them side by side to where you can see it. So this is why we're going to do this side by side. Let me pull my other Bible up over here, because I use this other side here. Okay, so we got Romans. So right now, let me pull this 1 second. Romans 1:20. Let me pull this here. And Romans 1:20. Hey, why is this thing doing that? Don't want that. We got Romans 1:20. And let me blow this up. We're going to look at something. In any document that I create here, I will always put in the classroom. We got Romans 1:20. And now we're going to look at Romans chapter 2. And we're going to look at verse 1. We're going to look at the same thing. We're going to put them side by side by each other. And this tool, and the only reason I'm taking this time, because I want you to understand the tools, how Paul sets stuff up. So this is the main reason I'm doing this. No other reason. And this is the importance of and now let me put a border around it. And actually, let me take my mug out the way, because I see my mug is in the way. So let me take that out the way, because I know you guys don't want to see my mug while it's in the way. And I know somebody, man, would he move? So what we looking at here? Now we're looking at verse 20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. That's a setup and a half. Why? So for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. You see this comma here? And people who's in my other classes, they know how I kind of work this. And this is the problem that we also have, where you have these guys out there where they teach and they just read and they don't know what stuff actually mean. But you see right there, it says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, comma. Therefore, there are excusable. Why? Can you see these things? Yeah, you can see them. That's why he says without excuse at the bottom. We're gonna get down there, but so they're clearly seen. Therefore, they are inexcusable. What? As what he's going to continually talk about. It's excusable. So how can we look at this? He's justifying what we see. So if the Most High God created the world, can you see the world? Yeah. You can see the world. So if the world is created and you see it, one, guess what? It's clearly seen. It's inexcusable. So you already are set up. But he goes on more. So he had to go on and he's got to justify this. So he says, oh man, whosoever thou art that judges, for wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. For thou that judgest doeth the same things. Why? Because they're clearly seen. Mean what? We have everything that's positioned as the laws of God, the same thing as the laws of existence of creation. Meaning what? For the invisible things from the creation of the world are clearly seen. How can you prove the point on how Paul set this up? How can we prove this on what Paul set up? And I'm gonna show you one. I'm gonna do one to where we're gonna see how he set us up. And this is what Paul does. We're gonna go to where am I, G? So Paul will pull you here automatically. Let me highlight that. So we seeing the construction on how he did Romans. So now we know again, for the visible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So again, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. You see it. He set us up. So we focused on something else and not what was invisible, he made visible. This was the setup. This is how he set us up. Why? So therefore, thou art is inexcusable. So you can't deny it. Because you see it. Because you can't sit there and say, well, I don't see the world. No, you can't say that. So you're set up. You set up to where he used this verse and it makes it excusable for what we're doing. To prove in what? His power. So making his eternal power in Godhead. He's showing you this is what he did. You can't go outside and say you don't see flowers. You fighting a losing battle. Paul got the jump on you in verse 20. And we focused on the wrong thing. And we should have focused on what Paul was saying, where the Most High used invisible things. Because you got to remember, if the world in the heavens was in his mind, it's invisible. We can't see it. So he made them visible to where we can see it. So now we can't get it. Now we have no excuse to saying what we don't see. Proven he's Godhead. That's all it was saying. That's proven that this is him. That's why I said in his eternal power and Godhead, that's proven who he is. Because we can't sit there and the people who deny it, they'll sit there and they'll say this world was created based on evolution. That's the difference. So we have to understand how Paul set this up. So if people believe in evolution, then they denying the Godhead. They denying the existence of him in the full realm, which is, I'm talking about, it's silliness. So if you believe in evolution, how can evolution be there and the earth was there, but through explosion and all this stuff, all this cosmic stuff that they say that happened, how can you say that was there and it was nothing there that did it? Something had to create that. It's the Godhead. They denying this very word right there. So for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. For that reason, they are excusable. So just on that alone, if he's the Godhead, meaning what? Whatever he says goes. He's the Godhead. We are inexcusable for everything that's made around us, because anytime we get anything made around us, we are blamed because we can't sit there and say we did not see it, because it's seen. He made the words of sin from his mouth came from invisible. He made them evident and made them seen, in which how Paul was setting this up. So anything to where we can just say sin, we just say, well, that's sin. What? It's sin, sin is sin. No, but he made the invisible things of sin actually seen. Let's see this. Let's see what I'm talking about, because I don't want someone to say, man, this dude is talking weird. This dude is talking weird. but we're gonna find out. So let's look at this. So the same thing as he's saying. So he made these invisible things seen, the same as what I'm saying with sin. I think I can put my picture back. I think I can put it back, and we can work it again. So what we can do, so now he made it seen. So since these things are now seen, so the invisible thing from the creation of time, so same thing as he made the world appear to where you can see it. Now he has other things to where fools do, and they're dark in their mind. Because that when you knew the Godhead and glorified him not, because you're going to deny it. You're going to deny it based on evolution. Let's just use that as an example. So you're going to deny the Godhead. You're going to deny all the glory of what God did. You denying it. So as you denied it, now you're doing what? You're sitting there, no, it's based on evolution. It's silliness. But watch this. It says neither were thankful. Because guess what? Now you don't even have to thank him for it. Why? Based on evolution. It's the same I tell people. It's based on evolution, and then we came from these molecules out of the water and became people. That's why I use that same analogy when people sit there and uses those analogies. That's why I will tell you, okay, let's go get a Volkswagen or something out of a junkyard, put it in your garage, and then you say, I want a Rolls Royce. It should turn into Rolls Royce over time. Because you're telling me the same thing. If we evolve from a molecule to a human being over millions of years, you telling me the same thing as if I put a junk car in the garage, and then over time it becomes a Rolls Royce. How are you gonna tell me you can't? It makes no sense. But watch this. But became vain in their imaginations, which they do, and their foolish hearts darkened, professing themselves to be wise. And you have many people where they sit there, and many people today, they have, that's why you have these people have degrees, and you have degrees, which you have to really look for what is actually the purpose of it. Meaning what? Many of us have bachelor's degrees. We have high schools. We have master's degrees. We have PhDs. We have all these things. What are the function of those? Those are for you to function in this world, not to function in God's world. They're for you to function here, not to function in God's world. In the kingdom of God, those degrees mean nothing to him. They mean everything here to you. They don't function in his world. They work with restrictions. That's why they all separated to one. Each one, people might have a criminology degree. They might have the same thing. I have a Hebraeus degree. Same thing. It means nothing to him. Nothing. We have to base on what this function, because it functions for this world. That's all we saying. So it said what? In them themselves being wise, based on them having a degree, they became fools. Why? Because you think the things of this world is going to function in the world to come. That's not the case. So watch this. And change the glory of an uncorruptible God into an image made like a corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Exactly what he was talking about. Why? Because without excuse, you can see it, but then we changed it into a corruptible thing. That's what we did. Why? And it's without excuse. Without excuse. Why? Because we saying we see it. If you say you see the bird, you validating this God. So you set. So if you validating you seeing the bird, you're set up. So then when you deny God, Paul kills you. That's what Paul does. That's the mind of Paul. Because soon as you validate something seen and it was unseen, he got you. Because You have to completely deny it. You have to deny the existence. So if I put these eyeglass cleaners in front of you, and I say, do you see these? And if you sit there and you deny it, then you have to deny two things. Either you're blind or you see it. But if I show you this and say, do you see this in front of what I have in front of you? Yeah, it's a blue cloth. You just show what was invisible now visible. I got you. Meaning what? You're without excuse that this exists. If this exists, you denying the power of God. You get killed. Technically what happens. But watch this. It gets on more, and then watch this. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness, because that's what we do. And it says through the lust of their own hearts. Why? Their own hearts. Now he's telling you what's invisible inside of you, you're going to make it visible to where now you can clearly see what was going on. You can clearly see that your sin is there. How? Who changed the truth of God to a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the creator, who's blessed forever. Amen. How are we going to deny it? He's the Godhead. But people will tell you, and this is the part that I really don't like to even bring, but this is the part where they'll tell you about a Trinity silly doctrine and saying he's the Godhead, talking about out of three. That's the biggest, silly, stupidest stuff that you ever want to come up with. But this is what we was taught. And this is why I say you throw that kind of trash out. You don't hold on to that trash. But watch this. He goes down more. So saying where men leaving the natural use of a woman, burned in their lust towards another. Why? What they were seeing invisible, what was inside of them, they made it physically visible. To do what? To do what they want to do to another man. You have men in jails right now having sex with other men because of a fleshly desire, because they want to have intimacy or sex. That's silliness. So besides denying the flesh to have sex, they even warped in their head to look at a man the same way they look at a woman. You think how sick that is? And they do this in jail. And they won't think nothing else. But what they doing, they're satisfying lust of the flesh. They're satisfying lust of the flesh. They made what was invisible, now that they don't have the woman physically in front of them. So they're invisible to them out on the inside. So they made that invisible visible in another man. These are things that we do. This is the mind of Paul. Paul is a master at doing this. And this is, even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, so you didn't want to retain what he was actually telling us from the laws of creation, which is contained in the first 5 books. So what's contained in the first 5 books is the laws of creation. And the laws of creation is what he's telling you what you have to, this is how you follow what I'm doing. You follow what I'm doing, and then you can be where I am. But if you can't follow these first 5, it's no reason, no world, in no way in the world, he's going to bring you into the house. That's an impossibility. It's not going to happen. So here we go. It says, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents. All these things is what? Was invisible being made visible. That's what he's talking about. This is because we made these visible now. So how did Paul make these visible to you? How did he make these visible to you? I'm gonna show you how he did this. Paul, as I said, we looking at the mastermind of Paul. We breaking Paul down. And see, even when I had to do the breakdown on Paul, it took me quite a while to break it down. I wish I could give you my thing on Paul, but technically I can't give it because we use it today as a form. So I cannot actually give it, but I wish I could to show you how I actually tore Paul down. Because we got to go inside his mind. You can't sit there and his mind is put on paper. This is why I say some things about Paul, and people need to stay out of Paul's stuff if you don't understand Paul and you don't understand the law. This is why it says that. So the same thing is, we're going to look at something else here. How Paul made this evident. How he made this evident. And he set this up. It's the same as you sit there and we'll see a person that is on, say a person that is on drugs. Man, I don't know the other way, but the best way to use it, I guess, best way. He said, by what? Watch what he does. We're going to go back up into verse 1. And this is still directed to chapter 2, verse 1. He did this. Verse 11. He said, for I long to see you that I may impart. He set us up. Impart unto you some spiritual gifts. The knowledge of it. He set us up so cold and we never knew it. Watch this. To the end ye may be established. Establish what? What was invisible, where you think what you wasn't doing was wrong, was nothing wrong with it, he making them visible. So now you know. That's how he set us up. Clear setup. Clear setup on what Paul does. So we have to understand what we do and understand what happens. So I'm gonna hold for a second right there. I want to make sure everybody understand so far what I'm explaining, and do I need to go any deeper with it, or because I did a whole thing on this, man. So if you need to go deeper with it, I can go deep as you want with it, or if you're good, we're going to push forward. So right now I'm looking at the class. Do we have any questions, or if everybody good? And the same thing on YouTube side. If you're good, you can say you're good. If not, we'll go deeper. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, much learning, so much unlearning for me. Okay, so much unlearning. Yeah, but I got it. That's good enough. Good enough. I know it's a lot of stuff you got to throw away, but you see, we don't have to go. We don't have to go nowhere outside of the scriptures to understand Paul. Can we see how Paul set us up? And this is why Paul, you gotta remember, Paul got Stephen killed. Paul, this is what they master at. Paul masters at this. So we see on the YouTube side, people got it. So as long as you got it, that's all. That's my main concern. You got it. Once you get it, I'm good. That's where I'm fine at. So I just want to make sure we got 4 people so far over there got it. I want to make sure everybody in the back. Let me see. I got some questions in the back. I don't know if the questions are answered. Okay, everybody's good in the back. We see people saying they're good, so we're good. Okay, and we see. So Paul is saying that people who see then acknowledge God. Saying that people who see then acknowledge God, and there is no excuse for understanding. Pretty much what he's doing. So it's saying, so the same way, if you see the birds flying, let's say we just see a bird. So let's say we all walking. You see a bird out there. And then we can sit there and say, do you see them? Do you see them birds? Say, yeah. So now you see it. That we established. That's what Paul's saying. That's why he's saying that it may be established. So he's establishing this. So now Paul going to move a little bit. Now we're going to move a little bit further. Who made it? That's the catch. So either you're going to deny the Godhead, the creator of all things. How? By evolution. Now you're denying God, which puts you in a problem. That's what this is doing. Are we cool? I want to make sure that we got that. So, and this I know who she is, but I'm not going to use the name. But I'm just going to use being for real, because I know who she is, but I'm just going to let her know. But I know who this sister is. I just want to make sure. I know who you are, sister. That's why I said I didn't know if you wanted to use your name or not. So I was going to use your tag name, because I know exactly who you are. Okay, but you got it. So that's all. So that's all I was saying. But sister, see, and I know you and Elder Pittman gonna get on me later, but Elder Pittman gonna tell me about it. But as I was saying, I knew who you were, but I didn't know if you wanted to use your name or not. And then we have understand visible or clearly. Understand visible is clearly seen. Yeah, invisible is clearly seen. Yes, that's the catch on what Paul was doing, because Paul is like he's injecting a vision in you. Let's look at it that way. So he injects this vision in you. So now with everything what you couldn't see, now you then took this pill, and now everything you couldn't see, you can see clearly. That's what Paul did. So that's the catch on it. So now let's look at this, and we're gonna see why Paul used it in that manner. And this is I'm talking about. Paul is a handful. He's a handful. But let's go back here. We got one more question, then we'll finish that part. Yes. So everybody in the back, it seemed like they got it in the back. So we're good back there. We're good in the Zoom area. So let's go back, and we're gonna check some more on Paul and understand some more about Paul. So he's saying, for invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So he's making sure you cannot get away from nothing, is what Paul is using. So you can't get away from absolutely nothing. So since you can't get away from nothing, so it's saying, so by the things that are made. Meaning what? If you can see it, you actually got. That's what he's saying. If you show somebody, the same women do this bad, because you know y'all women do this with your kids bad. Then you did it. Whose is this? Who's it? Because why? You showing your child this, because they clearly see, they don't even, the child don't even want to, they don't even want to look at it, because if they see it, they can't deny it. Even though the child don't know that. But most parents, as the same my parents used to do, they'll sit there and show you, is this yours? Is this yours? And they'll hold it all up at you all. And if I sit there and I turn, because I don't want to see it, because if I see it, I can't deny it. Even though I know it's there. But if I sit there and say, yeah, that's mine, it's a wrap. It's done. It's over with. Why? Because I'm acknowledging that it's there. So it's the same thing was Paul doing. So he's telling you the same thing. So why he's saying, even his eternal power, meaning what? He made those invisible seen. So that's why I said, so that they are without excuse. Meaning what? It takes you down on how Paul is setting us up. Meaning what? Being filled with unrighteousness. Why? Because he's going to make those unseen things seen. Meaning what? We don't know what unrighteousness is. So let's say we don't know what it means. We don't know I don't know what unrighteousness is. I ain't never did no unrighteousness. Really. Fornication. I ain't did no fornication. Okay. Who crossed? Oh, I wish I would have had I don't have no cross. Let me see. I just use just say I had a cross. Yeah, I just had a cross. And say, is this cross? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what Christians use. Okay. That's fornication. Why? Because he said, do not make any image in heaven, on earth, under the waters in the earth, at all. So why are you associating that cross to God? And you worship people are whole, they'll hold the cross and pray. Why? Because they associate that with God. So you're not praying to the God who created all things. You praying to the God that created that image. The one who created that image is a man. That's how Paul gets you. I'm telling you, Paul, I can be in Paul on a whole lot of stuff. But what happened? It's wickedness, covetousness. I don't covet. Really? You don't covet? Let's check it. I never covet. Okay. So let's say your friend just bought. I'll use me. Let's use me. My friend just bought a Bugatti. Comes by, shows it. Oh man, beautiful Bugatti. Hey man, come on, let's go drive. And he lets me drive it, and we just driving, we're just having fun, and I sit there like, man, what did he do different than what I do? How did he get one? I want this one. He get it the color I want, and me and him have sat and we talked exactly how I would do this car, and he did all those to the car. But he had the money to purchase it. I don't. So I covet what he has. I want it. And he said, and then let's say he says at the end, he said, "Want to tell you what, Michael? Out of all things," he said, "Man, if I'm gonna put in my will, if anything happened to me, this gonna go to here, this, but I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you the car. I already got that in my will. I'm gonna give you the car." Now, what's going through my head is, man, me and him is cool friends, but I wonder if you going out of town, you gonna fall over somewhere. Hopefully, the plane crash. See, this is the mind of lust, because what we lust, what he has, and I'm coveting what he have. Why? Because I know if he dies, the car is mine. It's that simple. So that was not seen. Now he's telling you this is seen because he's showing you what it is. And we're going to see some examples on to show you what those are. Backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents. These are things we caught up on. Paul imparted those gifts to us, meaning what? So now it's without excuse, it's inexcusable because now we know what they are. We sat there, as we were sitting there turning our head at what was evident, we looked at it and, okay, now I know what it is. Okay, I know what it is. That's how he set us up. That's what he did. And let me see, we have one question. It says, so that's why he speaks to us in allegories and why everything is written in scripture. We have an example to follow, making invisible visible. Therefore, we can never deny him. It's true. 3,000% correct. 3,000% correct. I'm talking about you couldn't explain this any better. So that's the whole point of everything that was happening. I'm talking is no way around it. That's why it's set up in allegories. That's why it's set up that way. Because once you can see it and he make you see it, it's a wrap. So beautifully explained. Beautifully explained. But they put in there, and I'm gonna put the quote in there with what they said. They said so that's why he speaks to us in allegories, and why everything written in scripture we have an example of what we have an example of to follow, making the unknown known, the invisible visible. Therefore, we can never deny him and his truth, cause it's been right in front of us and right in front of our face since the beginning. No matter whatever we live, when the world started or ended, we knew from the beginning, since we as individuals came into this wilderness. Sister Dana, 14,000% correct. That is literally in. Actually, she clearly understands what was going on. So 100% correct on that one. So this is why this is why that is set up that way. So it's right in front of us all the time. So we can't get around it. Technically what Paul is doing. So when we sit there and see some of these things, we're going to see some of the things that happen. So let's see a couple of other things that went on. Let's look at this, and let me put this there. So this is part of it. This is part of it. Meaning what? You can't get around it. So how you can't get around it? So he imparted some spiritual gifts. So some of these spiritual gifts, what? Spiritual, carnal. Let's look at some of those. Let me put some up. Let me put some up. And we're gonna go to Romans 7:14. Wait a minute, this one I copied too much. Let me try to do it again. Let me see. There we go. Trying to copy this verse out. There we go. 7:14. Mean what? This is letting you know the setup. Meaning what? So it says, for we know that the law is spiritual. Why? We worship him in spirit. You see how Paul, this is Paul that I'm talking about, he's checkmating us everywhere to where we can't run. And he says, so what we know, the law is spiritual, but I'm carnal. Soul under sin. He's telling you the law is spiritual, but he's carnal. He's fleshly. Soul under sin. All this stuff is brought right before you. It's brought directly before you, and we can't get around it. We can't get around it. So now, same thing. We're gonna look at a little bit more on what this thing is speaking. So we need to take a couple of more on how he actually puts this and how he's imparting this knowledge to where you can't get around it. So what he does, he wakes up a little part of you. Paul is very unique in what he does. And I'm gonna put another part in there. Yeah, what we want to do, we want to grab another part. And this is why I do some of the certain things. Yeah, 1 second, get this done so I can do this. So So it's in 1 Corinthians. It says, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teaches. So it goes right back to those degrees. Not what they wisdom teach. We can't look at what they teach, but things which the Holy Ghost teaches. You follow that? So that's why I say, degrees and master degrees, all those are okay. To operate here is good. To operate in God's realm, it's a waste. Comparing spiritual things with spiritual. That's what we do. Not spiritual things to carnal, because it's senseless. So, meaning why? Why do we have to do it in this manner? Why do we have to do it in this manner? I wonder, can I paste another one? Yeah, I can. Okay, this is why. We're gonna put in another one. Yeah, let me see if I can print this one pretty good. And this is what it's saying. So, actually, let's do both. Let me move this over here. So we know God is spirit. He's the head. And they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So if we have to worship him that way, we shouldn't be doing things carnal of the flesh. So if we're going to obey him, we're not going to obey the flesh, we're going to obey the spirit. We're going to obey the spirit of God. Technically, all he's saying, all in its full entirety, on what Paul was even saying here. So for the invisible things which from the creation of the world are clearly seen. Why? Because God is a spirit. He's telling you. This is Paul. Why? So he's a spirit. Being understood that things which are made. Meaning what? Even the internal power of the Godhead. Why? How is the internal power of the Godhead? They that worship him must worship him in spirit. Why? Because he's the Godhead, so that you are without excuse. Meaning what? When you see those things where he can bring what is sin in his eyes, he got us all connected up. Meaning what? Paul's even got more in here. Let's see what Paul pulling this to how Paul sets us up. Because Paul literally played chess all over us. And we got to see how Paul did this. So let me see. Okay, so we got to see what Paul did. We're going to go to another place. We're going to see where Paul getting his thoughts from. So we're going to let me copy this real quick. Actually, let me copy this part real quick. We're going to go to Deuteronomy. And we're going to go to 6 and 5. Why? Because we need to go there. Actually, come on. I'm trying to do this so I don't have to type a lot so people can have more time. So, what do this mean? So, if we must worship him in spirit and in truth, why? And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and all thy might. Yeah. Paul pulls his stuff right from there. This is where Paul getting all those thoughts from to literally let you know where he's coming from. We even have Joshua. Joshua did the same thing, because this is Moses speaking. But watch what happens. Let me pull another piece. Let's pull another piece. We're gonna go to Joshua 2:25, 22:5. I'm sorry, 22:5. Yeah. And watch what Joshua even says. Joshua gonna say the same identical thing. He's gonna say the same identical thing. So he says, but take diligent heed to do the commandment and the law. To do the commandment of his voice and the law. Obey his voice and do the law, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, charged you, that he commanded us. To love the Lord, your God. Oh no, it's all clear as day. And what? To love the Lord your God and to walk in all his ways and keep his commandments and cleave unto him. That's who you cleave to. And serve him with all your heart and all your soul. I'm talking about Paul just setting us all up all day long. Actually, let me move this over here some. And these are the setups on how Paul pours the doctrine of God to pour the people that are lost. This is what Paul does. So far, do we have any questions so far? I want to sit there and see, do we have any questions so far on what's going on? We still ain't got to verse 2:1 yet. So any questions in so far? Any questions so far? So far, so good. Good. So far, so good. Any questions before we pull this screen back up? And so far, so good. I don't see any other ones. We're going to move forward. We don't see any other ones. We're just going to move forward. So I got a question in the back. And they saying they good. So if they're like, everybody's good and clear, let's keep pushing. Let's keep pushing forward. So let's push forward and move forward. So now we need to see some examples of what's going on. The examples on what's happening. Meaning what? Paul, he said, I'm going to impart some spiritual gifts. Remember he said that. See, I can put that up, but it'd be way too much stuff to where it'll show too many other connections. But one day I could add, I don't know if I can. I could add another part. I don't know if I can add another. Yeah, I can add another note. Well, we'll see. We'll see on that later. But what's going to happen here is he's going to impart these spiritual gifts. We need to know what that is. So what are spiritual gifts? What is this? We need to know what those are to be imparted, to actually know what he's talking about. Because if he's sitting there, that he's saying that which things we speak is not the words of man's wisdom teacher, but which the Holy Ghost teaches. So if the Holy Ghost teaches, then that's part of the gifts. So this is why we have to understand what gifts are. Gifts is not sitting there where I told you, we talk about all the time. It's not what people blah, 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 blah. There's no fruit in it. It's really just silly. It just shows that it gets crazy. So we need to understand what are these gifts. And as we said, Paul talks law. So Paul talks law, we got to know where Paul pulling this from. So we got to see other parts. and we're going to go to Exodus. And we're going to look at 31 and verse 3. And let me pull this where I can pull this in there. Let me pull this to where we can put this in there. Oh, that worked out even good. I didn't have to do it. You had to enlarge it. Yeah, interesting. So it says, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God. Same thing that imparting that spiritual gift. In wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge and in all manner of workmanship. So this is what he said he did. These are things that's happening. How do we know anything else that he did? We can also drop down to where you see where Moses now, and where it's actually penned, where they did that more than once. You'll see this. We're going to go to 35 and 31. We'll see that there. So 35, 31. And you're going to see a repeat of the same thing. Just a repeat of the same thing. And you see it right there. And he had filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship. Saying the same identical thing. The spiritual gifts. These are spiritual gifts to where you know you have to have understanding of God to understand what is wrong and what is right. That's key. You have to have the knowledge and the wisdom to know what to do with it. This is what he's talking about all the time. This is what Paul has set us up on when he was saying, therefore, thou art inexcusable. Why? Because if you claiming that, if you claiming you had a Spirit of God, then you can't. Now, how are you going to sit there and disconnect? How are you going to sit there and tell me, therefore, thou art inexcusable, O man, whatsoever thou art that judges? So, same thing. You sitting there telling people what is actually not true. You claiming you had a spiritual gift. So if you had that spiritual gift, you wouldn't be doing covet. You wouldn't be lying with a man as you lie with a woman. You wouldn't be lying with a man as you lie with you wouldn't be lying with a man as you wouldn't be lying with a woman as you lie with a man. These things wouldn't be happening. Then let alone bestiality, messing around with animals. These things wouldn't be happening. These wouldn't be happening. This is all what Paul is pulling out. Why? Paul pours this out in his right there in his verses. He's telling you this right there in his verses. Being filled with unrighteousness. So how are you going to have righteousness and you filled with unrighteousness, and you have fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, the maliciousness, full of envy, murder, deceit, malignant, all these things are in you, but you claiming you have righteousness, you have that spiritual gift. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So what Paul says, show you something that Paul says. Paul makes some stuff really clear, and we have to put that there just in case. Because this is the setup that Paul used on us. This is the setup that Paul used. And we have to understand when he put this setup there, there ain't nothing we can do there. Because he set us up from the beginning. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go here. Romans 1 and 11. Let me go there, because I just thought about, because that's where he's actually set us up right out the gate, and then he even made it more clear. Romans 1:11. And what did he say? I long to see you. Yeah, because I want. Understand what Paul is doing. He longed to see us. Why? He want to make sure he in front of you. That I may impart some spiritual gift to the end you may be established. Meaning you ain't gonna be able to get out of this. Once I impart this in you, you can't get out of this. And let me do it this. Let me do this. So how are you gonna get out of this? So if Paul, and that actually connects with that one down there, as well as this one, as well as this one. So, well, it's that one. Meaning what? You cannot get around it. You see all those connections, you cannot get around it. Meaning what? So for as long as he to see you that I may impart some spiritual gift to the end may be established. Being what? He's going to fill you and he's going to give you some knowledge of the Holy Ghost to where you without excuse. So when something goes down, you can't act like you don't know. You cannot act like you don't know. Meaning what? Let me pull that. Let me pull that real quick so you have it. Because once this happens, it's impossible for you to get around any of it. And this is our biggest problem today, because we love to sit there and think that we can get around stuff for lack of something, but it tells you right there. Meaning what? So now we see the human connection there. So if you fill with the Spirit of God with wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and all manner of workmanship, so therefore you are excusable. It's no excuse, none. Why? Because he made the invisible things of creation clearly now can be seen. And we got to put some examples there. We got to put some examples there. So if all these things are clearly seen, so if they clearly seen, and if we sin willfully after we have received knowledge of the truth, it's a wrap. So you see, we can't get around anything. This is what Paul does. But people tell you that Paul teaches contrary to what he's saying, and Paul is not. This is how we actually get set up. Why? Because we worshiping things, and same thing. Let's look at some of these. Let's look at some of these inexcusable. Let's look at some of the inexcusable things that we do. Inexcusable things we do, like clockwork. Like clockwork. Meaning what? Let's look at some. And I just brought this up also. I just brought it up. And that's 20, I believe, in 2. Let me check. I believe it's 20 and 2. If not, I'll pull it. But I believe it's 20 and 2. Nope, not 20 and 2. 20 and 4. It's 20 and 4. So let me pull that. So let me check and change that. 20 and 4. So, therefore, you're inexcusable, old man, whatsoever thou judges. So now what are we doing? Judging, we judging people, but we actually making images. Meaning what? That's completely inexcusable. Why? Because if he established this from the beginning of the time, it's all inexcusable. Because we know this. We knew this was going on. So if we know this is going on, why are we making images? Let's look at it. What more we do? Same thing. Inexcusable. Inexcusable. Tell me we don't. Tell me we don't do these things. Actually, let me do this. Let me do this. Inexcusable. Inexcusable things we do. And as soon as somebody, well, no, I don't do them, or you don't do them anymore. See, it's better just, well, I don't do them anymore. Yeah, the easiest way to say it. And 1 second, I want to go down a little bit further to do what we got to pull. Yeah, got it. We're going to go to 16 to 18. Why? Because this is what we do. It says, lest ye corrupt yourself and make in you a grieving image, the similitude of any figure. So if you make anything look like something else, so the same thing as you go in many churches, they making an image of a man and making that image the similitude and treating it as if it was God. That's what they're doing. In the likeness, right there, of male or female. Tell me you don't do it. Tell me you can't go inside in front of a Christian church where a lot of them, some remove them, but they still there. You see Mary there. They worship that thing. And the same thing is you have many Christian churches and Protestant and all them people, they'll sit there and tell you they don't have nothing to do with Catholic, but Catholic still is the head of all of them because all the doctrines that they teach today spawned from there. And said likeness any beast is on the earth, or likeness of any wing fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Meaning what? Once you come to the knowledge of that sin and you know you still doing it, well, I got this for a gift. It's inexcusable. Why? Because he made what he said was sin to him is all that matters. So if it's sin to God and you doing it, so that they are without excuse. You have no excuse for it. You can't come before it, so you can't come before God later and saying, well, God, I didn't know. Why? Paul telling you, I long to see you so I can establish this groundwork, and I'm gonna impart some spiritual, I'm gonna give you some knowledge on what is sin. I'm gonna give you some knowledge what sin is. And he did it. So how are you gonna get around it? You can't get around it. It's impossible to get around it. These are the things that he did. So what more did they do? And I'm gonna show you some more inexcusable things. Some more inexcusable things, and we're gonna get those from Solomon. We're gonna get those from actual Solomon. And we do this like clockwork. I'm talking about like clockwork. Let me go to I want Solomon 4:12. That's the one I want. That's the one I want. I want 4:12 is the one I want. Well, I've got that one. I want 12. So let's go down and pull 12. And then we can go through it. Why did it do that? I'm trying to sit there, trying to just get the text, you guys. I'm just trying to pull the text. There we go. So it's saying for devising of idols, because that's what these are. These are idols. Was beginning spiritual fornication. Didn't Paul? Let's go right back and look at Paul. So it's saying divine is beginning of spiritual fornication. Did not Paul just tell us this? Let's look at it. Did not Paul just tell us this? Spiritual, he said, divine is spiritual fornication. Key word. What do this say? Fornication. So but that's not all. It's saying Solomon saying spiritual fornication. So let's look at that even in more detail. Let's look at it even in more detail. So this is spiritual fornication that is being spoken about. But we see Paul showed you fornication. But what is spiritual? There's not God's spirit. So if you go, and it says right here, for we know that the law is spirit. Why? Because God is spirit. Why are you trying to get around this? You see, and mind you, we all over the Bible. And people hate when you do this, but you have to run precepts to do this. We all over the Bible, everywhere. We all over the Bible. However, as we all over the Bible, everybody's saying the same thing. So if we sit there for the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, Paul telling you, he says, okay, that was invisible. We didn't know this. So let's play you didn't know this. So you sitting there, did you know that was did you know somebody, you to come up to somebody, you say, did you know this was an idol? Oh yeah, this is my fish, when I pray and this and that. Yeah, did you know that's spiritual fornication to God? You just imparted a spiritual gift for knowledge of God. So once you imparted that gift, it's the same as he's saying that he may establish and put some spiritual gifts in you. Once that gift is in you of that knowledge, and if you sin willfully after you have received that knowledge of the truth, that happens. It's automatic. This is the problem. So the same thing is, therefore, thou art inexcusable, O man, however, thou art that judgeth, and wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. Because all this stuff we do. Some people say, I put on my lucky socks, when I go do a certain thing. The sock is the idol. Oh, well, when I go do this, I got to wear this certain way and do this. That's an idol. These things become idols to you. And I'm talking about this more and more in what we do. So in what he says, so devising of this, which he gets in more into this, because we're going, let me see, verse 20, I know it's the multitude. Yeah. Actually, let me put that in there. Let me put this other one in here. Because just thought about it. And as I said, in this Solomon, and what we want to do, we want to pull this. Actually, I think I want 21, 20, 21. Actually, I do want both of those. I want both of those. To where it's actually inexcusable for any one of us. To make it inexcusable for any one of us. So let me do this. So, meaning what? There we go. So it's saying, and so the multitude, meaning people, so the multitude allured by the grace of the work. not just the work of being created, but the doctrine that's being taught. Took him now for God. Now you tell me, a man that Moses told people that's going to come, who's going to be identical like him, who's going to be just like him, and going to speak all the words that God commands him. Let's look at that just to make sure we all clear on this. I want to make sure we really clear on all this here. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy just to make sure we're clear here. We got to, I want to make sure this is pounded, because when you're dealing with Paul and people, I love Paul. We had that guy, that Michael, I can't remember his last name. I love Romans, I love Paul, and don't even know what Paul was talking about. People love stuff, because why? Because they're not seeing what was going on. So watch this. This is the mind of what Paul was using, and watch the mind on what Moses says. He said, I will raise them up. Actually, let's go up some. Let's go up to show you that the Most High is actually speaking through Moses and telling you this. And the Lord God will raise thee a prophet from the midst of thy brethren, likened unto me. Moses is clearly telling you, he's going to be just like me. So again, Moses was raised up by Egyptians. Just to let you know, he didn't come, out to see the God. That's just clearly why, because they were going to kill this child, and the mother just let him go, and hopefully that, whatever happened, either God was going to care for him or the child was going to die. Technically, what she put on God. Either you're going to protect him or he's going to die. Whatever one happens is going to happen. But I'm going to put it in your hands, God. And that's what she did. She put him on the water, put him on the knowledge of God, and let the knowledge of God direct it where it needs to go. So God, I need you to direct this child where to go. Technically what happened. So it went on. It says, according to all that thou desired, that the Lord God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of my God, neither let me see that great fire any more, that I die not. That's what they wanted to say. And the Lord said unto me, thou hast spoken well, which thou hast spoken. So since you don't want to come here and hear what I have to say, to where you see what you're going to be going through, yeah, well spoken. But I set something up in place. I've got something already set in place, because I already know how you guys are. So he says again, I will raise them up, talking about us, gonna raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee. So he said, I'm gonna raise them up a prophet, just like you, Moses. I'm gonna raise up a prophet just like you. And I will put my words in his mouth. So God's going to put his words in this prophet's mouth. Why? Because he said, I'm going to raise him up a prophet, and I'm going to put my words in his mouth. And he should speak all that I shall command him. Now, he even says even more. And it shall pass, whosoever will not hearken unto my words. Why? Because it's not that prophet talking. It's not him talking. It's the Most High God talking. So you're not going to hearken unto his words, which he shall speak in my name. I will command it of him. He's telling you point blank. So I'm gonna put a prophet on the scene. If you don't hear him, you're gonna have a problem. Technically, all he was saying. So meaning what? What they did, they took this prophet, Yahweh Shai the Messiah. He took this prophet, because we got some Israelites still doing it, but we know the carnal people and the Gentiles, they want to call him Jesus Christ. So they took this for the same thing, meaning what? For the Lord grace and the work took him now for a God. He was a prophet. It's telling you right there, which was before just honored as a man. Moses was honored as a man, as Yahweh Shai was honored as a man. But now they took him for a God. for a God. Think about that. This is all what Paul's talking about. Paul gets into so much of it to where people has so many issues and don't want to believe what they actually see. And they have it's really weird. It's really weird. And I want to get down. Let me see. I'm in the right verse. Yeah, here we go. So the same thing. The same prophet, the same identical prophet that they speak of, Yahushua, was clearly a prophet. Clear. But watch this. And the angel came unto her and said, Hail, thou art highly favored. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. The angel came and told Mary. So we know this angel was talking to her, and it's telling you, and the angel came unto Mary. So we know an angel told her this. So it says, so when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying and cast her mind what manner of salutation this should be. Because she don't know that she's in trouble or what. That's telling you right there. She don't know what this is. She don't know if she's on good standing or she's in trouble, because she don't know what manner of salutation. But here we go. And the angel said unto her, fear not. So don't worry about it, Mary. Thou hast found favor with God. But you found favor. So don't worry about the issue that you probably thinking on. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua. That's clear. It's coming from who? It's coming directly from the angel. But watch this. He shall be great and shall be called, he's going to be declared, which you can go in Romans, declared the Son of God, the Son of the highest. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father. Who's telling her this? An angel, David. It don't say the throne of his father God. So this again, it even shows you here, but you have people, they so screw it up and they doing these things and they get tripped up on stuff. So when they get to Paul and what Paul's saying, so what they did, they didn't make what was unseen evident. What they're doing is making something unseen more unseen and causing more confusion. Because now they're taking images and using those images as God. This is the problem that's going on here. So Paul is putting law back in order, besides people putting what David was doing back there, Phariseeism. Meaning what? Doctrines and commandments of men. They have those in place, Phariseeism, and they doing all this heresy. So Paul coming back and letting people, reminding them of the laws of God. That's all Paul was doing. So as he's telling you about the laws of God, we having people putting this same thing, and they was allured by the grace and the multitude of this doctrine, because many people teach that doctrine. And it says what? And this was the occasion to deceive the world. For men serving either calamity, trinity, did ascribe unto stone stocks and stocks the incommutable name. It's telling you right there. This is what we does. This is what we do. We do this like clockwork. How do we know? You got people in churches right now, like clockwork. Like clockwork. Meaning what? Based on what Paul said way back here in verse 20, for the invisible things from the creation of the world are clearly seen. Are clearly seen. It has, I wanted to pull it because this actually has a lot of stuff I need to put in here. Because yeah, this verse one for chapter 2 has a lot of stuff. So what I know I'm gonna have to do is put in some other stuff. I'm gonna still push because there's some information that I have to put in here. So I'm trying to see how to do it. But what I'm end up doing is most likely just creating another document. And I'm gonna tell you what, I can go down and then just make a bigger document. We'll just do that because you need the information. So it's no other way around it. The information need to be go out. So we just got to do what we got to do. So as we doing this, we got to see how we was defiling ourselves in doing this thing. And as we were saying here, so we did this part of it. And as he's saying, you know, the same thing with what we were doing in making the same thing inexcusable. Inexcusable, meaning what? I want to take this here. I want to take that there. I want to capitalize that. And we just got to roll with it. We just got to roll with it. So I apologize to everybody, but we got to just roll with it. So I'm just going to make one big long document and we just going to roll with it that way. So we got to see what's going on here. Meaning what? Inexcusable. So what is inexcusable? We have to see things that's inexcusable. Meaning what? We defiling ourselves. So he imparted these spiritual gifts that is there. So if he departed these spiritual gifts that is there, let's look at something. Actually, let me put this there first. So these are things that is inexcusable because why? We have the knowledge. And where it's going to come from? It's going to come from the law. It's going to come from the law. And so it makes it inexcusable. And we're going to go right back to Paul and prove the point. So we got to go to Leviticus. And people hate, you know, you got people who they hate to go, well, I don't know why you always got to go here and do this. And God loves everybody. And, you know, people like to use silliness as in justifying their flesh. And we can't do that. And tell you, we just got to, so I'm just going to have to scroll it up and down. I apologize, everybody, but you just got to do what we got to do. And I don't want that text bold. No, it's not bold. I want to tell you what, it's just bigger than everything else. You just do it that way. Okay, inexcusable. So let's look at this. So it says Leviticus 18, 22 to 24. It says, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. What we just spoke about that. It is abomination. So clearly then you know it's abomination. But now we know that we was filled with some of these gifts. We was filled with that knowledge. It's right in Leviticus. Where Paul get this from? How do you know Paul pulling that? Paul is telling you this all the time. Paul is making sure this is all clear all the time. So we have no excuse on nothing. So the same thing is, see, Paul pulled us in with the bait, but Paul is letting us know everything else. And the same as Paul even tells you even here in 14, he says, but I am a debtor both to Greeks and unto barbarians. Barbarians just talking about somebody who just technically they just call them unlearned. Technically all he's saying. But what we have to understand is here what he's using. What is he using? Paul is using his very rationale in his understanding of the scriptures to show you what we're doing. So what we're doing, we did not like to retain the knowledge of their God. We don't want to retain this knowledge and being filled with unrighteousness. Meaning what? Backbiters and all these despiteful workers. We're going right back to this same thing what Paul is speaking of that we can't get around. We're trying to get around it. You have people sitting there saying you have one thing, but you can't get around it. So what they don't want to do is go to the Old Testament. Why? Because that's the foundation of the law, the first 5 books. And man should not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Neither shall he lie with any beast to defile, neither shall thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therein. Understand what's going on. You got people do this. You got people do this. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast and lie down there too. You got people do this. Do it all day long. And it's strongly prevalent in the Gentile nations. Strongly prevalent in the Gentile nations. And the first thing that a lot of us brothers like to do, soon as we feel we made it, we go after them. And this is strongly prevalent. I'm not saying all of them do it, but it's strongly prevalent in their nation. It is confusion. Defile not yourself with any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. You see, he's letting you know. But when we act like them, sitting there, what's the difference? Why should I remove them? They act just like them. They act just like them. So what's the difference? So this is what he did. So he says this again. This is actually brought up again when you get into verse 20. And he's telling you right now, that's surely gonna get you killed. But watch what happened. Actually, I still need to put up one because women has this issue also. So what I want to do is 20, and I want to put in 16. And let me take this out. And let me see if I can copy that 16 in here. If I can copy that 16 in here, then we're good. 16. It says, if any woman, if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereof, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. Now we know this can't be happening today, far as what he's commanding here. But what he's saying is, if you know a woman that did this, that woman should be dead to you. You shouldn't even want to deal. You shouldn't even deal with that woman no more. They're dead to you. That's what this is saying. They should surely be put to death. Their life shall be upon them. This is all this is saying. This is all this is saying. So this is why we have to understand exactly what is going on all the time in Scripture. It's very important. And why? Because there's a lot of us that still don't want to retain the knowledge of God, which Paul speaks of. Meaning what? We want to stay in sin. Meaning what? Let's look at verse 28. Even they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. They didn't want to retain this. Meaning what? They didn't want to retain none of the law. And as we don't want to retain none of the law, what did he say? What did he say here? Same word, going right back up here. Therefore, thou art inexcusable. Why? Because he gave you the law. It was in front of you. And you chose not to accept it. You chose to go your own way. This is what Paul getting into. Paul hooked us in verse 20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of this world were clearly are clearly seen. So he set us up from the beginning, as I was saying. So we got to remember how when you get set up in these positions, how you can't get around it anymore. And we have the main thing is, well, I'm gonna show this one verse and then we're going to end up ending it because I got to take a couple of questions, then got to end it. So what we're going to do, we're going to add inexcusable. Inexcusable. Just like I say, Paul is quite different person. Quite different person. And we got to look at Isaiah. We're going to look at 122. Let me take, don't want that. Let me take that out. And let me take 122. Because this here is the key. That silver become dross. Become mixed. That wine mixed with water. We did the same thing. And actually I got a ton of verses that shows that. But what we're going to do, we got to, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take some questions and then we're going to pick it up. So all this we have to put with that over there, we're going with verse 2, chapter 1. So what we're going to do on the next one, we just fill that up and then we just go head on over to verse 2. But it's actually some more. I actually have about 15 other verses. It actually goes to this verse. And this is where Paul coming from. This is where Paul literally coming from. When he speaks, when he's saying this right here, let me just go right to the Bible. Let's just go right there. So when Paul speaks in verse 2, therefore, for that reason, people are sitting there thinking, oh no, he's talking good. No, for that reason, all what I previously said, as I'm bringing all this stuff up, as I'm coming to this, thou art inexcusable. Now you don't have no excuse. This is what Paul going in. Paul is getting ready. So people think Paul is, oh, brotherly in love, and we're gonna all just say kumbaya. No, Paul is getting ready to go into you. Is what Paul is getting ready, because now we are inexcusable. Oh man, whatsoever thou art that judges, for wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. But then sit there and talk about same thing. That guy that got Michael Holloway, whatever his name. I'm like, oh man, I love Paul. You don't even know Paul was actually talking about him. So these are things that happen. So now, technically with that, do we have any questions so far? Because we're gonna need to go out. I'm gonna save this document. So I'm gonna put this document in the class. It'll be ready most likely this evening to where you can actually download the document. I'm gonna make sure you can download the document, but it's gonna be part of your you just go into the Romans, the 15th one, and you're gonna end up seeing a document. I'm currently making sure I'm putting it to a save right now to where you guys will be able to get the document. And it's coming up. So, but right now, if you guys have any questions, you can put your hands back here. But if in that section, and if you don't, then you just post it on the YouTube side. So one thing I see one. So give me 1 second. Just let me put this in, and then I will check this. I just want to make sure we have it, because I don't want people sitting there hitting me later, because I know when people need their documents, I know they want their documents. So let me go to Romans in, where is it? I don't see, I know a way I can do it. Let me do this right here. This is the easiest way to do it. Got it. Okay, so now let me do this. And this is for today. And I don't know why. Today is the 15th. So I just say doc 9/15/2019. That's all I do. And the doc is saved. But now I had a document actually put over there later on to where we'll be you guys can actually have this document, and some people can already start putting this in the work folder. So because if anybody has the Romans study book, you can start putting this in there, because these are actually going to go in there. And then you have and then I'm gonna make sure you get the other ones to where you can put everything in there. And then it says oh, you're more than welcome. You are more than welcome. So yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, with the precepts, it clears up a lot of things for you to help you out a great deal. But you see, what I was trying to make sure everybody see, how Paul sets us up. You know, he said it. I'm talking about, you know, how people go play chess, and people be 5-10 moves ahead before they ever even move something, and they looking and expecting you to do something else, and then they move on you. This is what Paul does. Oh, you guys are more than welcome. You are more than welcome. So I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on this, and then we got to pick up on that and continue to move forward. And Paul, I'm talking about, you know, now we can see where Paul is pulling. That's why I say Paul rarely uses his words. He's a master at pulling from other places. And that's what he masters in. That's why he has to memorize the Bible a certain way. So when he comes and he talks in that form. And then it's no way around it. So he set you up, he gets you real comfortable. Because even look how comfortable he got everybody. We'll go right to 1, chapter 1, verse 1. Look how cool he set people up. Paul. He said, serving a Yahweh Shai the Messiah, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God. He's come so cool, really nice. And then he's just keep putting the vice a little bit heavier, a little bit as he goes into it. He just constantly just twisting it in on us. So yeah, I appreciate it. So it seems like everybody we're good on. We don't have no questions. So everything is good. So what we're going to do, you know, same thing like we said, I did announce yesterday that the book of Idris, the first and second, is available. You guys are going to flip over that one. I'm talking about truly flip. The main reason is because it's a ton of affiliations, ton of precepts that you cannot find nowhere else. So those are there, and as well as, you know, the other books that we have there. You ain't saying you did not find the precepts for the weekly study on KJBU site? Okay, I didn't put them there yet. So I said they'll be up there later on this evening. So I don't know what part we missed there. And if you're not signed up to be in the back of the class, you're not going to see them anyway, because you have to be signed up to where you go into the class. But as I said earlier, they might be up. They'll be up later on this evening. I didn't say right now. So you jumping the gun. And so that's something you need to make sure. Hear me out when I'm saying something. Don't sit there and jump the gun on that. And the document from last week couldn't find in studies, and actually is sitting there. Is sitting there. And no, I was talking to Aaron. That's who I was actually letting know, because he's saying, you know, for the weekly studies, and that actually it's in there. But right now we don't have any other questions right now. So what we're going to do, so Wednesday we're going to be picking it up on the weekly studies. Make sure you comb and understand what's going on with Isaiah that you have to study, and Judith. Understand where it's coming from. Because once you understand where it's coming from, we're getting into the mind, and we understand it because we want to have the same mind as God as what he wants us to have. And that's what he's trying to impart into us. So we need to understand where he's coming from. If we don't understand where he's coming from, if we cannot do properly what we need to be doing properly. Because many people understand the Bible in a carnal sense. The Bible in a carnal sense just shows you carnal things. But when you understand it on the spiritual side, it shows you more things, and it opens the doors to what you know what God is actually speaking to you, to where you can properly do everything. So with that, we want to make sure when you go through those, understand what's happening. They say it's in during this time the children of Israel was in a state of not knowing who they are. They seem to need a lot of correction, as we do presently. Exactly the point. He brought them into the wilderness to do what? He had them out there for 40 years. I just want you to think about that. 40 years in the wilderness. To do what? It's the same way, and people hate that I use those now, but it's true. Same way as you train a dog. You keep a dog outside until he's actually trained enough to where you can leave him in the house, and when he want to do something, you know properly what to do. It's the same thing. Same as us. We currently now are in the wilderness. Being what? Being trained. How to act when you come into the house. Either you're going to be trained and you're going to learn, or if you don't come in the house. It's that simple. But then you have actually some of these ABC camps actually telling people and actually taking people to the forest saying we're going to go to the wilderness. So you're going to go from wilderness to wilderness. It's silliness. But those are avenues and things of what they do to get you to put up money, to all join together to do something, and they make money on it. Technically what they're doing. So, but that's the true statement you actually have there. That statement is same back then, same as now. You know, you can go up to people right now and say that, you know you're Israel, and they'll sit there and won't believe nothing you just said. Yeah. And can you use James 4:12? Let's look at James 4:12. We're going to put that in there. And James 4:12 has a lot to do. In James 4:12, it says, there is one lawgiver who's able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judge another? That's beautifully done. And then I also show you to where that's something you can actually tie to what you're actually talking about. Because you know who the lawgiver is. The lawgiver is that Godhead. So yeah, you can't use that. And that actually will pull you into more what Paul's saying. Well, what you just remember is what Paul is pulling from. Paul is pulling from the law. Here is he's doing the same thing. James, who is Yahushai's brother, who actually real name is Jacob, but most people think his name is James, but his real name is actually Jacob. And he's pulling from the law also. He's pulling from there, but he's just remaking a statement. So yeah, but you actually use that. So yeah, and that's a good pull if you want to use that. But the only reason it's not too cool to pull that, even though your verse is, don't get me wrong, your verse is good. The only reason why you don't want to pull that most time, because it's like the people in the New Testament talking to people in the New Testament. That's the dangerous part, because you can go tell it to someone else who understands the truth, and they'll be cool with it. Yeah. This is a good pull. But when you're trying to get somebody to understand where they're getting that mindset from, we're not trying to get the mindset from James and trying to get the mindset from Paul. No, we want to see where they actually getting the meat of the information from. So the way they're getting that meat of the information from, they're getting it from the law. That's why most times it's good to use. But the main thing is, if you show someone that, it's good to still show them where is that information coming from. Let's not get caught up in all New Testament. This is what New Testament Christians do. That's technically what they do. They hang out and they live in the New Testament and can't tell you nothing of all the law. And then they tell you the law is done away with. So that's why, it's a good verse. But technically, when I use it, if I was teaching somebody, if we need to go, just showing somebody, hey, yeah, he said it, and then show them all saying it in the New Testament, then show you where it came from. Yeah, that's one thing. But just to use it as a solid foundation, no, I wouldn't use it. Yeah, let's see. So yeah, so a good verse, but technically, yeah, I wouldn't use it. And then we have, yeah, you are, Sister Banks, you are signed up for both classes. You are signed up for both classes. And okay, and so she got it. So the main thing is that, so we don't have no more questions actually currently in the back, but I want to make sure that everybody just understand, what we're going through. And, same thing this Wednesday, we're going through the weekly scripture studies. Make sure you guys look at this and see what happened last week on what we had to do and how serious it gets. So when we understand this, then we know how to approach it. And remember, still, the subject heading is the names. The names. Remember that subject heading to where now you know how to approach Isaiah and Nineveh. And not just Nineveh, you got to approach Judith with Nineveh. The names. So now you know how to approach it. Because we've seen the example just last week. So we have to do the same thing, and then this is going to be imparted to you to where you can actually fill it in. We then cleared that part to where you can fill it in, put this in on your study book, and we can move forward. So make sure you guys do that. Make sure you do it. Get a chance. You can go over to KJBU if you want to get the book on Idris. Please do, because it's a 90% chance they are going to try to shut that book down, because we do have a large order that came through some other people that was more than, I believe, over 1,500 books. And what they're trying to do, they want to actually try to market those elsewhere, and we need to find out on our own what's going on. But they do not want a lot of those precepts out. But a simple fact of, one, the book of Idris actually bridges the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, to the New Testament. And that's one of the reasons they don't want that bridged. But that's what they do. So get a chance, check it out. But that's mainly one of the parts, is actually one of the reasons I actually like Idris so much, because he bridges all three together. And he does it right in there. And I actually show you how you do it. I actually show you in the book how he does it. And same thing with Paul. Paul is unique. Yahushua was just, he's just unreal. But we're gonna go in a lot of our minds. We're gonna see certain things. So when we get into them, we're gonna look at some other ones. We're gonna see what's going on. But right now we're gonna end it here. We have one other question here. Yeah, we got time. We have one other. Oh, I appreciate it. But so what we're gonna do, we're gonna end it here. We're gonna pick up on next week, next Sunday. We're gonna pick back up on it, and we're gonna continue on Romans. And this Wednesday, we're gonna do our weekly Sabbath, our weekly scripture class. We're gonna continue through it. So until then, until this Wednesday, I'll be looking forward to joining you guys again. So for each and every person, I bid all you guys, before I go out, I'm getting that one last. Yeah, so I bid each and every person a beautiful week, beautiful studies. Make sure you stay in your studies. And so until next time, I bid each and every person, shalom.